The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
So, do you go back and ever listen to the Metal Hammer of Dooms? Like, I know sometimes like you'll tune in when we're live, if you're not got, I guess, nothing else to do. But do you ever like just go back and listen to the whole thing?
On occasion.
Are you planning on going back and listening to last night's show?
I'm debating it.
Well,
anything in particular I should look out for?
Yeah, I'm retiring Fra Diavolo.
I saw you mention that.
Yeah, you want to ask me questions about it? Are you intellectually curious? Do you care about my life?
Well, yes, but just if you'll allow me to get my joke out of the way before we delve into the series.
By all means, Shecky, please.
I can't wait for the reunion in 18 months to 2 years.
Wait a minute now.
We got there eventually.
Yes, like Slayer. This is it. This is the last tour. I actually saw Slayer on their first retirement tour. And then
I went to allegedly the Scorpions retirement tour a handful of years ago.
Right, and the Scorpions I think are still around, aren't they?
I'd assume.
Yeah. So I think Kerry King went on to do like a solo thing where he would just play Slayer songs and some of his own new stuff that nobody cared about, and then Slayer reunited.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Fra Diavolo reassembling the cooking line in about 18 months when you decide you want to reattack this project. But
well, this show is not only a review show; it's also cultural criticism. It is debate. It is, retiring to the library with brandy. That's what we do here on Damn You Hollywood, and we talk of the news of the day. We spin the life fantastic. We paint the town red. Wait. Anyway, I had to explain what paint the town red meant to my son because he just assumed like you were like running around with like a paint bucket, just
Oh, it's a euphemism.
So anyway,
I almost threw in the Kid Rock conclusion to that line.
So, long story short, I was talking last night with the fellas and the lady about how Fra Diavolo is a little over a year old now. I think I started working on it in July of last year, and then very quick, and then I think I put the first album out in August, and then I very quickly went back in like September and I did another one, and then I did an EP, and then I just started like mass producing a bunch of stuff, but just putting something new out like every 6 weeks. So it's about a year since then. And I realized that when Jesse kind of turned me on to the idea of doing AI music, I conceptualized the concept of doing AI music as create a fake band, which, before I go any further, there are fake bands that have been successful. I can't remember, the Velvet something or other.
Yeah, that are all listened to by bots, but yeah, I know the story there.
Yeah. So like there's some scattered examples where this has worked and people believed it was a real band. But by and large, I attack the problem like create a band, create a sound, create a gimmick, and then from those pieces make installments, make albums. And I didn't realize that the marketplace had shifted seismically like it's one of those times where like I sometimes feel like even at the tender age of 50, I have my finger on the pulse of culture, and other times I am completely out in left field. I have no idea what's going on with the children.
And you still don't understand why the polka remix of Hugestappa is
Yeah. So long story short,
your biggest success.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting to. I did not realize that the marketplace is not about large identities, albums, all the things that made me fall in love with music when I was a child and into an adult. That's just not where we are now. That's not what people want. People want singles. People want 87 versions of Throw Something Up Your Ass.
Yeah.
And they don't want to connect to anything beyond the immediate product, which is the single. So at this point, I feel like Fra Diavolo was a nice experiment, but it's outlived its usefulness and it doesn't really match the marketplace. And I do want people to listen to the things I create. So I am retiring Fra Diavolo permanently. September 6th is the last album.
We'll see you in 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be on
Terry
tour
Funk.
We'll be on tour with fucking Slayer and Ministry, who's on their third retirement.
Yeah, look, I want you to turn Fra Diavolo into a Terry Funk joke now.
I will. I promise. So again, as Ronnie is harassing us, long story short, too late. So Last Licks is kind of like I just wanted to go out with a bang, but I also kind of wanted to be a brat about the whole thing. So it's like back to basics, Fra Diavolo, where it's all food puns, but it's all hypersexual, except for the last song. The last song is more of a fuck you, I'm out of here. And it's called Last Licks, and it'll be out September 6th. So any further questions, Your Honor?
No, I'm happy to. I will listen to you guys talk about that when it drops, and we'll have a good time.
Yep. I finished it today because I got all my clients fucking didn't show up today. I saw 3 out of 8 people. Yeah. So I had plenty of time to knock out a 5-song EP of hair metal sex food puns. And then an essay explaining. So Ronnie's in the chat right now. I had a conversation with Ronnie, a TikTok I saw about how theater kids made D&D gay. And everything I just told you and everything I said to you off air about how I don't want to be a part of fandoms anymore. And I took all of those bits and pieces and mushed them together and created one essay that'll be out tomorrow on TikTok, which I do know you watch because you tell me about it all the time. Occasionally you message me and go, you motherfucker.
I believe the last time I specifically messaged you about one of your TikToks was, oh, good, you finally mentioned me just to bury me. Thank you, brother.
You know what's funny about that? Whenever I do the essays, because it's pulling from the transcripts, it's always wanting to credit one of you guys, one of you people, one of you friends, one of you minions.
Collaborators, Mark. At a minimum, we're collaborators.
Yes, one of you collaborators, and it always wants to credit you. But like my TikTok followers don't know who the fuck Robert Winfrey is, or Ronnie Adams, or Jesse Starcher. So now I have a standing rule in there is do not credit them by name. Just say my podcast co-host or as was said. So yes, I've completely stripped your identities out of anything that I create on TikTok. You're welcome.
Very aware of it. Thanks.
What, you want a shout out? You want to, as for Robert Winfrey of 41mania.com?
Look, it's either that or I'm gonna have to start stitching onto your stuff, and that means I have to download the TikTok Studio, and I really don't want to.
I would love that. Like you get something that references you, and you're like, it's me, you motherfucker. I would love it if everyone did that. That'd be great. I'd laugh my ass off.
Well, yeah, no, that sounds like way too much effort for. Plus, the last few ones you've done that have kind of, been hits, have largely not featured anything related to me. So,
yeah.
What am I gonna do? Stitch into your female empowerment one and just. Okay, let's talk about this.
On a scale of
you and I can just have that conversation.
On a scale of 1 to 10, the Black Widow, She-Hulk, Echo one, how much did that rub you the wrong way? 10 being the highest.
7.5.
Nice.
Well, you said we're going to get to the movie, I promise, guys.
Yeah, I was about to bitch at you to do that, but make your thing.
Well,
let me get into it.
You mentioned something in there, like
actually connects really well to this.
Yeah, you had mentioned that I describe female characters as unlikable, as sort of like veiled sexism, and that bothered me. But I had to take a second and think about it. Like, okay, I've never actually articulated the distinction between flawed characters and unlikable characters, because they're not the same thing.
Sure.
And I have the perfect analogy, which I used on my MMA show, because this kind of came up because I was talking about one half of this, but you don't know half of the equation, so it's not going to land, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
I think I can keep up with you. It's fine.
Okay. On his rise, only on his rise, because I don't want to talk about again, because I've talked about this enough, the shit show that is Conor McGregor and the year of our Lord, like 2020 to now.
Understood.
On his rise, he had a multitude of, you would call them character flaws. I don't even mean like the criminality. I mean, he was arrogant, he was loud, he was brash, but he was also magnetic and spoke to things in the moment and was charming. He looked like a guy you'd want to spend an evening with. Right? Like, seriously, would you spend an evening with Conor McGregor, like 2015 Conor McGregor?
Yes.
Okay. Then there's Ian Gary, who you don't know, who is an Irish fighter who is also brash, loud, confident, overconfident, obnoxious, and is utterly devoid of charm. He looks like the last person on earth you want to spend any more time with than you absolutely have to. Conor McGregor is Tony Stark.
Right.
Ian Gary is She-Hulk.
I figured that's where not that second part, but that first part, I was just like, he's going to compare Conor McGregor to Tony Stark, to Iron Man.
Yeah, but like, okay, let me put it the other way. Instead of She-Hulk, so would you go hang out with Tony Stark? Like pre-Iron Man. Like before he gets the superpowers, like when he's just the billionaire playboy douchebag. You go spend an evening.
I have hung out with like young, rich party guys.
Okay.
In my lifetime.
Okay. So you would hang out with Tony Stark.
Yes.
Would you hang out with Millie Alcock's Supergirl?
Oh God, no. I mean, I might marry her, but I don't think I'd hang out with her.
Okay, that's a you problem.
No, I understand what you're saying, though.
Right. So when I say that, Supergirl is unlikable, it's not that I care that she's a flawed character. It's that this is a person I don't want to spend time with. This is not a compelling person. It's not an interesting person.
Okay. I kind of get where you're going with this, and I actually do think it's a great lead into the movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, and because this movie, we're talking about the end of Oak Street. It's catching strays that are not fully deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's being lumped in with the girl boss complaint. It's being lumped in with the, go woke, go broke mentality. And it's frustrating because there was a time before, as I have been calling it and did call it on my TikTok and continued to call it on several ones that followed, the Great Correction that took place, starting in 2010, 11, 12? When did the Great Correction start to begin? Because the ones that I'm thinking of are like Dark Feminism, Charlie's Angels, Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah. So it's got to, let's be real. It starts in 2012.
Okay.
It's because not quite 12. Maybe more 14.
Well, 14.
But it starts with Me Too, which then blows up with Harvey Weinstein. It is sort of in the wake of that.
If you're looking at like what film would you say was the canary in the coal mine, or maybe the inciting incident of all this? Probably Maleficent. And that's 2014.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Maleficent's a good point for the genesis of this.
Well, so Ronnie's asking, what about this movie was woke? And then he says, well, D&D 5th edition came out in 2014. So let's just agree for conversation's sake that the Great Correction starts in 2014 in earnest.
Give or take.
Give or take. So what they're describing, woke has become shorthand for anything with at this point, it's anything with a female lead. Anything with a female lead, anything with a female lead in a genre that is typically associated with male enjoyment, because this doesn't seem to affect romance movies.
Well, there is a subset of this that has infected romance movies, but that's a wildly different conversation.
That also seems to be a late stage issue that isn't where we started. This started with let's start to shift male-oriented media, male-centered media, which is typically action, and start putting female leads in there. So like the two that I cited, which come a little bit later, are Terminator Dark Fate and Charlie's Angels. Which Elizabeth Banks had a really funny statement about that. I was reading about this somewhere else in my vast amount of reading about these subjects as of late. And she was Charlie's Angels was described not as woke, I think, but something along the lines of like a female empowerment film. But she's like, it's an action movie. I mean, is she being intellectually honest? Probably not. But I'm sure she was holding two truths in her hand at the same time. One was, I would like to see. I mean, first of all, Charlie's Angels was already female centered in the sense
like
of
the original is.
Like they had women in the lead roles.
So
there was no change there.
The argument around Charlie's Angels was not, oh, look, we have women as the central characters. The argument was actually had nothing to do with like women in a
casting choices. No one
one, casting choices, yes, and two, the substance of the actual film was just dog shit.
So I was talking to Kat the other night, and she referred to it as like waifu. Where you have girls the size of the Israeli chick from Brave New World chucking guys, LeBron James size around a room.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Right. That was, I think, more of the complaints of Charlie's Angels at the time. Anyway, to get back on track, to answer Ronnie's question very simply, we've gotten to a point where the vast majority of people who complain about these things are so injured by the past 10 to 15 years, emotionally injured, I should say, are so frustrated by how the film industry has displaced men in action roles that now anytime a woman is in a lead action role, they say it's quote unquote woke and that she's a girl boss. Now, some of that is intellectually disingenuous, because these are content creators and they're farming for clickbait. They're farming for engagement. Some of them actually believe this, and which I think goes to what you're saying of the catching strays from the non-content creator people, the people just going on forums and whining about this. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, we have lost the definition of words.
Yes, and George Orwell warned us about this.
He did, and frankly, once again, I blame the left for a lot of this.
Of course you do.
No, unironically, I do, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've now arrived at a place where words that used to have very specific meanings have become so generalized and stupid that they no longer have any meaning. Describing something as woke,
definition of newspeak, by the way.
Yeah. Describing something as woke used to carry very, very specific connotations. Like we knew if something's woke, we are actively pushing an ideology. First of all, it's about ideology, not aesthetic.
Hang on, go
the
back.
Aesthetic comes secondary.
The original definition of woke was don't make characters or don't put characters in situations that portray stereotypes. It was wake up and see people for who they are, not what an easy definition of those people tends to be. That's all woke meant. And it
was almost, which is not a bad thing initially.
I was going to say, it's like a ghost getting out of the ghost trap, where like as soon as it got out, terrorized the city. Started off okay, and almost immediately was misused, abused, and became shorthand.
I mean, it's also to the point where, incel has become a word that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yes, every time
The
I
way-
yell Pickle Rick, my son goes, "Stop! That's what the incels say."
That's the two things are wildly unrelated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the point to all that is, in a different climate, if this movie were released in a different climate,
hmm
there's a bunch of the reactions to it that would be different. I'm not saying this is a perfect movie. God, no, it is
Okay.
very much not.
If we trade places, I'll be Mormon. You be a sex bot. No. If we trade places between the end of Oak Street and Jurassic Park, we are having a completely different conversation.
If like this movie's released in 1990, whatever.
Yeah. So, what is the end of Oak Street? Well, I'm glad you asked. The end of Oak Street was written and directed by David Robert Mitchell, who made like one other movie before this.
He's made 3.
The one that anyone cares about.
That's true.
The film stars Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, Maisy, Stella, and Christian Convery as a suburban family whose quiet 1982 neighborhood is suddenly transported millions of years into the past and dropped into the age of furry dinosaurs. Originally developed under the title Flowervale Street, boy, that confused the shit out of me for other reasons. The project began taking shape at Warner Brothers in 2023 with J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot producing and Hathaway attached to star. McGregor, Stella, and Convery joined the following year with principal photography taking place in London and Atlanta. Several Atlanta neighborhoods were chosen for their detached homes, wide lawns, and mature trees, recreating the look of early 1980s American suburbia before visual effects powerhouse ILM transformed the familiar setting into a prehistoric nightmare. Released this past weekend, the $80 to $92 million survival adventure has earned positive reviews while opening to a $47 million worldwide. Okay, no, I won't read the rest of that. So that's what we're talking about.
And yeah, poor Warner Brothers. Because this is going to lose the money too.
Oh, is it? I thought it was. I haven't really checked like the numbers and how well it did.
We'll get to it when we get to it. But
Here's what I'll tell you. I saw it Sunday. Prior to me seeing it, I started seeing stuff on TikTok about people were loving it. They were saying they were comparing it to Jurassic Park. That's why that's fresh in my head, saying that it was better than the original Jurassic Park. Certainly,
it's
better
most certainly not.
It was certainly. It was better, certainly, than any of the Jurassic World movies, which I think there is a case for. I had actually heard a lot of. I didn't know that there was negative responses to it regarding Anne Hathaway being the lead action star until after I saw the movie. And in all honesty, it changed my viewing of the movie because I went into this, and I was talking about this with my kids tonight, and it'll be the last thing, and then you can go into the plot synopsis, but I want to get your take on this. Because I'm not perfect, and while I, make TikToks defending women's right to have media, defining women's right to be leads in male-centered media, I sometimes
write better movies, and we don't have this problem. For the record, Hollywood.
Agreed. I will sometimes, despite myself, fall back on my gender prejudices. Here's an example of that. I saw the trailers for it, and immediately assumed, oh, family action movie, dinosaurs, Ewan McGregor's in it. Ewan McGregor's a big star. He's the lead. So I'm watching this movie, and I love this movie, but I'm going to tell you why I love this movie after the plot synopsis. When I'm watching this movie, and I'm keying into the family dynamics, I'm keying into the marriage stuff, and as we all know, these are important topics to me. So it's how I view it versus how maybe somebody else views it. And I'm watching Ewan McGregor, and I'm like, this is really fantastic. And he's doing a wonderful job. And his dynamic with Anne Hathaway is just amazing. And about midway through the movie, I start going, hey, wait a minute, like an amnesia patient. Ewan McGregor is not the action star of this movie. Anne Hathaway is. And I was like, why did I just assume, and this is the important part, why did I just assume Ewan McGregor was the leading star and the action lead of this movie? Because he's not, by virtue of having watched the film and seeing what happened, but also he's not even top billing. Anne Hathaway is. This is Anne Hathaway's movie, and I did not know that, nor did I even think to look it up, because I assumed based on my understanding of this medium and this genre that Ewan McGregor would be. And I'm okay with like oopsie on my part and just accepting what I saw. But I had to make a train track switch in my thinking midway through watching this. Your thoughts?
You're thinking too much about your thinking.
Okay, doctor. Would you like
anytime you start getting into, oh no, my unconscious biases are rearing their ugly. Like, have you been going through retraining, Mark? Have you been? You okay?
No, but continue.
Look, I knew Anne to the extent that there was going to be a lead, I knew it was going to be Anne Hathaway, because if you look at the movie poster, her name is at the top.
But Robert, that's my point, is I didn't.
Well, blame the marketing department for not putting the poster out.
Look, in defense of that, I didn't bother to look. I didn't care enough. You have to understand, my seeing this movie was because it's on the calendar. Yeah. It's the next one in the lineup. So there's a
lot of those coming up for me.
Yeah, no kidding. So my point
is, I'm desperately looking for something else to come out so I can avoid by any means, because you and I you don't have the conversation with me. But there's nothing else there, so I get it.
I'm going to put this on screen because Ronnie's kind of like in the middle of us. Okay, serious comment. I went into this not thinking anyone was the actual lead. I thought it was at most a shared lead.
Largely...
Somebody has to get top billing. You know, it's like WrestleMania. Somebody has to go last.
That said, like, in fairness to the point Ronnie's making, Anne Hathaway is not like, Tom Cruise in this movie. Which is just in like any possible way, apart from how much time she gets to spend running. This really is, a bit more of a shared kind of narratively. Yes, she gets the focus, but it's a bit more shared in terms of, with the budget we have, we're not going to get, the big A-list star. And respect to Anne Hathaway, she's not quite that. I mean, almost no one is these days, because that's the nature of what Hollywood has turned itself into.
The only one I could have thought was maybe Emily Blunt, but she was busy doing Disclosure Day.
Yeah, there's options, but movie stars in general at this point are almost a dead breed. They don't exist. They all get snapped up for long-term contracts for stupid IP when they're 20. Instead of, Tom Cruise doing 18 different things over the course of 5 years and becoming a big star.
All right, you want to get into the plot synopsis? Since we spent 30 minutes not talking about this movie?
Well, sort of talking about the movie. So, the year is 1982, and everything is better.
And the shorts were very short.
It was the 80s. You were there.
Certainly was, Ollie.
I
actually thought this was the late 70s. I mean, the cultural and style differences between 78 and 82 are not that big of a difference. But
you don't get the 80s don't really get their own like big defining aesthetic and style and whatnot until about 84, 85.
Yeah, 84, 85 is where you start to see the shift.
The sad thing about the weird thing about the 80s style is it dies almost exclusively in 1991.
Keep going.
Anyway, so in 1982, it's a block party. Those used to be a thing when there was, actual community.
When neighbors talked to each other and people came outside of their house.
Yeah. That depressed me more than I realized all of a sudden. Anyway. So we follow Ewan McGregor, Anne Hathaway, and their 2 kids. They're a family in this nice little suburban neighborhood. They go out to the block party, and we kind of realize that, the couple, the husband and wife have some issues. The husband is running out to do pizza deliveries in the middle of the party, and the wife is like, but I'm a repressed woman. Whatever shall I do with the state of my existence? I'm being glib, I'm aware, but...
I'm gonna get you for this, rabbit.
I'm just being glib. This is not my actual assessment of her character, for the record. I'm just...
Don't be
She's
an
not
asshole.
happy in the marriage, and why, oh, why am I here with children when I could be something like a big writer in New York?
I could be. Hang on. This I will interrupt you for because I said this to my kids. I was like, why is it every angry woman who doesn't want to be married anymore also wants to be a writer? Roseanne, this woman. Like, this is a common enough trope. Like, was this like, did I miss a memo here? Why does every woman want to be, who doesn't want to be a housewife, want to be a writer?
Because it is a common misconception that writing is easy and that your unique voice is all you need, which is a load of crap, by the way, but that's a whole other discussion. So she's, writing the great American novel about the repressed housewife who wants to leave her family, and it's just a story. She's not projecting. And over the course of a day and a half or so, things go weird. There's plants appearing that shouldn't be there because they're from the way wrong time period. And there's a giant pile of crap that appears in their neighbor's backyard. And we just needed Jeff Goldblum, but we didn't have him. So, and things are just a little bit weird. And then one night, big light flashes, and suddenly the power goes out, the utilities all go out, nothing's working. But it's the middle of the night, so everyone goes, okay, fine. We'll sleep it off, and something will be fixed in the morning. In the morning, nothing is still working. So everyone goes outside like, okay, what's going on? And then the dinosaurs attack. And this is largely the rest of the movie. This whole neighborhood, they try to drive, and nope, that way goes into a swamp. That way goes into a bunch of alligator, or prehistoric crocodiles. That way goes off a cliff. We're kind of stuck here. And we don't know what to do because we are helpless people in the face of the jungle primeval and millions of years ago in the past with the giant monster lizards and the fur and the feathers and the slightly more accurate dinosaurs this time around. And the dinosaurs, various kinds, attack and eat people because it's a dinosaur movie. This is what they do. And the wife and the husband have a blow up of an argument because marital strife. And the daughter has a bit of an explanation because she's a fan of Carl Sagan. And the son is just like, but my dog is out there and I don't know where he is. And I have to find my poor dog. He has to be located. So everyone kind of bumbles around. Neighbors die. A few of them almost die. A sorted T-Rex shows up and proceeds to eat Ewan McGregor, and everyone's sad about it. They rescue the ethnically diverse neighbor girl who starts a lesbian crush on the daughter because it's 2026. Of course we're doing this.
Because lesbians existed in 1982. God damn it.
Teenage lesbians even.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure, there's videos about them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this was the catalyst for Lethal Weapon, but so eventually what they all decide is, okay, the big glowing lights are wormholes, and we can take one of them to get back to where we came from, right? This is how this works? Sure, why not? So they go find one of the wormhole bubbles, they all jump through it, and they come out about 20 minutes before the initial incident of taking away the entire subdivision. And we don't know what to do because it's the 1920s. Sorry, the 1980s.
Are you Anne Hathaway? I've got a letter for you.
Oh, that actually would have been nice.
Let me tell you, the first words to my kids when the movie was over was, this was very Back to the Future-y.
Not in a bad way, but yeah.
Yeah.
So they arrive again, 20 minutes, and unfortunately the DeLorean won't start, so Marty has to run to the Lone Pine Mall because it's Lone Pine now instead of Twin Pine. Sorry, wrong movie. They're on this hill overlooking their neighborhood, and they're like, well, there's 20 minutes before all hell breaks loose, and we have no smartphones, and we have no internet, and we have no ability to mass communicate. What the hell are we going to do? And Anne Hathaway goes, I know what to do, but for dramatic purposes, I will not explain a single word of this to anyone. And she runs over to a payphone.
Hang on, having had kids, you will waste time explaining fairly easy concepts to children if you try it. It's easier just to do it and let them look befuddled.
I was fine with her doing it initially, but when they all just hang around for another 20 minutes sitting in the bus stop, I'm like, Mom, what's going on? No, dramatic tension.
I
That
don't.
bothered me.
I
But
mean, maybe she didn't want to, set them up for disappointment. Because what if Ewan McGregor, on his way to deliver the pizza, gets into a car accident and dies? Now she's hurt these. Now they've lost their father twice.
so she made several calls from the payphone, collect, because that's a thing we used to have to do. In fact, if you were real clever, you could deliver most of a message and where you were supposed to say who was calling. I used to do that all the time.
Useful information in the year of our Lord 2026. Thank you, Robert.
So she made several calls, including one to the pizza place that has hired Ewan McGregor as a delivery driver. So she called for a pizza delivery to the house across from where they're all sitting waiting in the rain for the dramatic thing to happen. And he shows up and they're all like, "Oh boy, we're so relieved because we thought you were dead and now we're, going to rebuild everything." And they all watch as the neighborhood then gets sucked into this wormhole and the patch of land from the dinosaur age pops up there.
Mm-hmm.
And we then get a little bit of a postscript to that where several of the people that died turned out to be okay because she made several calls. She called her old neighbor because, of course, she did. She called the librarian who helped save their lives. And the Indian girl I assume Indian, the ethnically diverse girl gets her family out, and their jerk neighbor gets saved because he died horribly. And she writes a book about the whole thing, so all is right with the world as the movie comes to a close. Apart from their alternate selves, who all died very, very horribly millions of years ago.
Yeah. So I love this movie. This is now neck and neck with Project Hail Mary for me. Now, I'm going to tell you how I frame this movie. This is like Marriage Story with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson interrupted by dinosaurs. And I love that. I love the fact that that yes, this is Anne Hathaway's story, but this is actually about this marriage falling apart. And not to over-identify with either character, but like there was a bit where Ewan McGregor where Anne Hathaway is just needling Ewan McGregor to death, and he just vitally erupts. Nothing I do is good enough. Robert, I was the only one who laughed out loud in that line. I mean, like, embarrassingly so. Like, the entire fucking theater is pin drop quiet for, like, dealing with the intensity of these two fighting. And I hear every man I've ever talked to as a professional therapist say the thing they all say. It's like they were all given the script. I have heard every man I've ever talked to in life say the words, "Nothing I do for you is ever good enough." And I fucking, like, it wasn't like I laughed for a long time, but I laughed like almost uncomfortably out loud. Like, ah! And that's when I realized that, like, that's really what this movie is about. Yes, it's very like, but it's about dinosaurs. It's not about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs
No,
are
the
there.
dinosaurs are there. It's about the family.
Yeah, it's about the family. And there's a lot of stuff going on here because, if you don't interrupt this family falling apart with the dinosaurs, what you have is Anne Hathaway struggling with, it is a bad thing to abandon your family, but I don't want to be here anymore. I don't love this man anymore. He's, he is inadequate. And then there's the father going, "Yes, I am inadequate. And I don't like that about myself either. But, I'm still here. I'm still trying. And you won't give me an ounce of grace or understanding." Like, the bit at the block party is every fight I've ever seen a couple have. I am going to leave now because I have to go make money so that we can pay for the mortgage on the farm. And the wife going, "But you don't want to spend time with me and the kids?" And he's like, "What part of we don't have money did you miss?" And a partner, I'm not going to always say it's women. It's mostly women, but I'm not going to say it's all women or always women. Not being able to cope with the cognitive dissonance of that moment of he is trying to do what a good partner does in the position of provider. He's trying to provide. And boy, do I know what it's like to be a provider when everything is working against you. You don't have a job that pays enough. You have bills that are higher than you would like them to be. the jobs that you can get are inadequate, and it's just like one failure after another. And all you want is for your family to appreciate at least a little bit of what you're trying to do, and they don't, because people are people and they can sometimes be a little self-centered. Or they're children who are self-centered until you become hopefully functional adults, and that's if you're raised properly. So I liked all that. I liked the family turmoil. I like the fact that the son feels the weight of his parents breaking up and is kind of projecting on the dog. Like, well, I can't cling to my parents. They're shooting in different directions. So I'm going to cling to this dog as something stable. And then for him, like, he needs the dog to be there, and then the dog takes off, and it's like, I can't, look, my parents are breaking up. I can't also lose the dog. This is very important to me. So that all like worked for me. And, and him kind of like bonding with the dad when they were taking the sign off the car, and, just kind of being unsure of himself. And look, the low-hanging fruit is to be like, why couldn't they switch him and the girl and make the girl be that way and make the boy be somewhat masculine? I don't fucking know. I didn't write the movie. But it worked for me because I've seen that boy before. The girl, she's not much of a character. She's there to explain wormholes.
She's there to espouse the Church of Carl Sagan.
Yeah, she's there to explain wormholes. And to be a part of this family. So I don't have a lot of positive things to say about her. Fine actress and all.
To have an understated, lesbian tension with the other.
Honestly, that all felt like studio notes.
Of course it is.
Or if it wasn't studio notes and they put that in there purposely, it's somebody who is very much aware of everything we talked about for the first 27 minutes of this podcast and decided to, front load his script with this because he didn't want to get the studio notes on it. Like, hey, where's the lesbians? Where's the black people in this fucking movie? So does that take away from my enjoyment?
Where's the lesbian black atheist? Come on now.
So that's not going to take away from my enjoyment of the movie. It's just a craft criticism because I can hold two truths at the same time. This was wonderful, and there's a lot here for me to sink my teeth into, and that sucks. So everything about like the family dynamic, and then things change, over the course of this. Anne Hathaway's arc is, by the end of this movie, she realized the value of being a mother and being a part of her family. And it took being nearly killed by dinosaurs for her to figure that out. She also figures out along the way that removed from the pressures of, ordinary, mundane, humdrum life and presented with the existential threat of death, she realized she actually does love her husband. And why it takes that kind of diamond producing pressure on coals to get people to remember they love their spouse, that this is their partner, I'll never know. Actually, I do, but I'm being facetious. But that's what she goes through. She has to kind of go through this, pressure on cold process to realize that all of these incidental things don't take away from the fact that she still loves this man, and this man is important to her, and being a mom is important to her, and her kids are important to her, and priorities. So I like the journey that she goes on. Ewan McGregor, I think, plays a great kind of inadequate husband. A guy that's passive. The only thing I'm going to bring up about the critical drinkers comments about him is that he's like, like men aren't really like this. The fuck they aren't. Not a day goes by that I don't come across. And if you're like, oh, it's only 2026. No, it's not. Because they were passive, kind of made of feathers men, who don't like, who are conflict avoidant. In every age of humanity, I would imagine, this isn't like a recent invention.
It's an exacerbated one recently. It would have been a lesser.
The point he made was there aren't any
in the 80s, but
hang on. The point he's making is that there are none in the 80s, and that's not true because
that's not true.
I saw every type of man growing up in my family and in my neighborhood, in the schools I went to learn in, from the teachers and the administrators. Don't tell me that there's only masculine men out there. You're full of shit. And either he's had no life among other men or he's lying. So Ewan McGregor, to me, felt very real and very familiar. And that is exactly how that kind of man would act. You know, like you're trying to be a civilized, good provider man, but you don't particularly have a lot of energetic masculinity. There's not a word I was looking for, but that's where, like, I don't want to say like aggressiveness, but that's kind of what I'm alluding to.
Well, it's a combination of aggression and disagreeableness if we're talking about personality traits.
Well, I was thinking more of like ambition. That's more of what I was thinking about.
Okay.
Ambition, persistence, sense of urgency, motivation. Not every man has those things, and certainly not every man in great quantities has those things. So for me, he was a very familiar thing, and that kind of man would piss off someone like Anne Hathaway. Imagine being a woman who is talented, but it's 1982, and there are limited options, and you did what was culturally expected of you, and you're like, I want to go, I want to be, I want to do, and you attach yourself to this fucking limp bag of potatoes, and you're just like, because you believed at one time 12 years ago, 15 years ago, that he wasn't a limp bag of potatoes, and that's the man he presented to you as. We don't know. There's a lot of allusion in this movie in the little bit that they're talking, but you really don't know. I'm inferring a lot from lived life experience, from things I've seen, from people I've talked to. So you might be thinking, as I'm going through the craft review, like, does he ever talk about the dinosaurs? Yes, the dinosaurs were fine. The dinosaurs look cool. The dinosaurs look cool. I like that they're going with the modern interpretation of what dinosaurs are, feathery, furry, and all of that. But what I really want to talk about, three things. Ewan McGregor's death caught me by surprise. And I'm going to come back to this moment because I don't love how this movie ends. Again, I'm going to hold two truths in my hands at the same time. Ewan McGregor's death was legitimately jarring for me. I did not expect it. The way it happens was, not necessarily even gross, just violent. And
this movie pushes the PG-13 rating.
It produced a moment of empathy that is rare when I watch a movie like this these days. And it got more out of me than anything else we saw this summer in terms of like a real guttural moment where I felt for the character. And they were in pain and I shared their pain. That sucked for Ewan McGregor, and I kind of shook in my seat. And not because it was like it was gross, or even because it was so violent. It was just like this guy who I was kind of rooting for over the course of the movie, because he does have some, he does like step up and find his heroism and sense of urgency right up until he died. So that sucked. The thing with the snake legit scared the shit out of me. Like, I was, first of all, like, that's
I was wondering if it was going to be that one or the one where the initial attack from the T-Rex, when you see it, if you're watching the background, you watch it come around the block and then it starts coming down the alley towards them, but no one's looking at it.
And that was fun. That was fun imagery. No, I mean, like, this thing that went on for the length of the spaceship from Spaceballs, just slithering through the fucking house. And it's got that snake smile, like, hello, how you doing? Yes, I'm a snake, hello. And then it gets to Anne Hathaway and it rears up and it opens its mouth and fucking hell came. Oh my God, all the teeth. And it still has.
Seen the inside of a constrictor snake's mouth?
Not like that, no.
That's accurate. They look
okay.
They don't have because they don't have fangs. The way they don't have like venomous fangs. So what they have are the backward facing teeth like that. So when they bite and you try to pull away, you just sink into it deeper. The fish hooks, basically.
Well, again, don't spend a lot of time in snake mouths. So,
how dare you not be familiar with the anatomy of these creatures?
I spend all my time dealing with married people. I have no time for snakes, Robert Winfrey.
Yet you repeat yourself. Hey, see, I can do it too.
Anywho, scared the fucking piss out of me, and I'm on the edge of my seat, like this. Oh my goodness! Like I'm doing a legit heavens to Betsy, like So,
I mean, in fairness, after they killed Ewan McGregor, somewhere in your head is, they might do this.
That's the thing. It's like, because this is not, the slop we get from the major, franchises, they could have killed the whole cast for all I knew.
I was rooting for the dinosaurs. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm sure you are. So I love the scene. I love the way they did the snake. Anne Hathaway going ham on the fucking thing. Like just going feral. trying to kill the stupid snake was awesome. Again, I still have it like embedded. It is fucking nightmare fuel that the snake with his mouth open with still the smile going on, like, haha, I'm going to kill you. It's great. All good stuff. The kid jumping through the fucking portal, missing it because he waited too long because the fucking pussy kid he is, and then falling and landing on his leg. I'm like, oh my goodness. That sucked. But I liked it. I liked that they did it. I liked that they faked the audience out. Here's my one complaint. And I'm going to start with, I am perfectly aware of reality. This is the one truth in my one hand. Something that you said to me like years ago, we were talking about like children's entertainment, is you can scare the fuck out of a kid as long as it ends okay.
That's the general posture that pretty
Don
legendary animator and director Don Bluth has. Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like we're all kids in Don Bluth's world. And and whether or not it was written this way initially or it was a studio note, I think that sorry, I just read one of Ronnie's comments. I think like there was no way they could have ended this on a tragedy. I would have preferred it that way. I would have preferred, and this gets to my other hand, I would have preferred that they had balls and just ended it with the kids and the mom crying in the rain and be done with this. But I understand this is a Hollywood movie. It's the end of the summer blockbuster. We like happy endings. Who doesn't? So
I have
so hang on. So the fake out ending where they save the town and Anne Hathaway gets everything she wanted, I think it's a less fulfilling ending for me, but for everybody else, it was fulfilling enough because they want comedy, not tragedy. And I want internal consistency, which for this movie would have been tragedy. But whatever, it's not worth fighting about. And like I said, two things. My preferred ending is stick to your guns, make it a tragedy, leave everybody dead. Happy ending, more satisfying ending for most other people. The Hollywood ending is the one they went with, and I'm sure most people would give it a choice, would have preferred that. So for me, it was one of those moments like, didn't quite stick the landing. I'm going to deduct a point here, but am I going to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater? Absolutely not. As I said at the top of this is, you can tell how much I like something, or you can tell how much I hate something by the amount of passion I put into my review. Like when I'm doing this and I'm talking this much, it's either Psycho Killer, or something I absolutely love. And like I said, right now, the end of Oak Street for me is neck and neck with Project Hail Mary. Robert?
Yeah, I did not like this as much as you, for the record. I feel like the original version of this script was different.
Mm-hmm.
We probably had a bloodier movie that was R-rated, that had the more downer ending, is my hunch, given kind of what I know of the writer-director and everything going on there. I feel like the original draft, that's kind of what we were going with. Mm-hmm. This leaned much more into the scares and the horror than this movie, than the final product. It leaned a bit more into the blood and guts. And at the end, maybe only one of them survives.
Oh, yeah, that's on the way this is written. By the way, he's like 2 feet away from a fucking dinosaur the size of an aircraft carrier, and he can't hit the thing with a bow.
I'm going to get to him. Just hang on.
Okay, I forgot to say it, so that was an opportunity for me too.
So I feel like the original version. And then when the option got picked up, it was picked up by schlockmaster extraordinaire Jar Jar Abrams. And Jar Jar said, Misa liked the 13. And the director went, yeah, okay, I can tweak it. If this will get it made, we can turn this into a PG-13. So we cut down on, we can use atmospheric scares a bit more. We can tone them down a bit so there's a little bit less of them. We can, Ronnie, do not argue with me about Jar Jar. Don't do it. You won't win this because Abrams sucks, the horn. So we tone down some of the violence. We tone down the language, I would assume, and we give it a happy ending. And we move from a R-rated horror, more horror one that I gotta address this.
Just stop, keep going.
Okay. And we go from a more like bloody R-rated kind of horror survival movie to a more family approachable one that we get here. And the movie is, again, while it's very much has a lot of the director's tricks, it has kind of the J.J. Abrams sort of philosophy injected all the way through it, for better and in many cases for worse. So I couldn't get away from that sensibility watching this. Like, there's a different version of this that I probably like more than what we got. I think to engage with one of the things you said, I think my big struggle with the dynamic between Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor is I'm never given a reason why they like each other. And that creates a problem for me when I'm fine with us starting with the friction. I don't need to see the whole marriage play out. Okay, I really don't. But if the end point of we're starting with friction and they're going to rediscover each other, I need somewhere in there to be specifically why we got together in the first place.
Okay, so like a scene where maybe they share a memory and it's like, hey, do you remember that time? Blah, blah, blah.
Something like that.
That's what they should have done when they saw the dinosaurs fucking. That would have been the perfect place for it.
Well, I was fine with that being that can be what it is if we've already established what we're going back to. That scene works as is because we know what we're like rediscovering instead of the generic rediscovering of, hey, we don't hate each other. There's not a lot of like why these two got married in the first place. Like, what's going on here?
Maybe even she's just like screaming and yelling at him like what I gave up, for you because I trusted you and you turned out to be shitty.
Anything. Like we just arrive at we are dissatisfied. Okay. But then by the end of it, like, I'm so sorry you died. We've missed like 2 points in the middle of these two here that are kind of important for this to really land. And I struggled a bit with that. To kind of go along with like if we wanted to like drill down into some of the specifics, the notion that Anne Hathaway in this like plays a girl boss, I think, is wildly inaccurate. The early setup does a lot of telling rather than showing, which, okay, fine. We've committed a thing you're not supposed to do, which itself is, as writing advice, is one of those rules that you need to know so you know when and how to break it, not a dogmatic adherence. Unfortunately, the old neighbor who, of course I edited my husband's work and I know your work now, just saying, oh, and you're such a brilliant writer. We could have handled this better and avoided some of the problems.
This is you're the new Captain America bit. Everyone's telling Sam he's the new Captain America because you have to what you're actually doing is telling the audience he's the new Captain America. Sam, shut up.
Every episode, at least 2 different people have to say it. Yes.
Yeah.
And God, that was grating as hell too.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a problem. I'm okay with Ewan McGregor playing this kind of like downtrodden guy. Again, what I'm missing is when you say he like rediscovers his heroism, I think my problem with the way that's presented is, again, there's no sort of growing back into it that I would like to see for a character to actually progress. instead of what we kind of get. And
Where he's more reacting, not becoming.
yeah, and that, so it doesn't quite land for me. When he hits the T-Rex with the sledgehammer and it falls over like a Looney Tunes character,
With the fucking knot and everything.
somewhere in I can tell you my immediate reaction was like, okay, we're going to smash cut to him on the ground, like dying. And that was his fantasy. Like he hits it the first time in the leg and then he thinks, oh, I hit it in the head and I knocked it out and I saved the woman. And then we're like going to pull back on his smiling face as he's in the thing's jaws. Like this is just his dying fantasy about what happened, which wasn't what we got, but was close. So that was, I think my other problem with that scene in particular is there's no weight to it. Like it's Ewan McGregor. It's one of those moments when you're very aware Ewan McGregor is swinging something painted green at a green screen kind of things. Like I don't believe that he actually hit the thing that he's supposed to have hit. There's a lot of reasons why I don't think that one worked. And other ones worked better. I don't think that one worked. So his character, again, I struggled with it a little bit because I can see what they're trying to do. And I just, somewhere in my head is just, you can do this better. You needed another editor in the writing room telling you just, no, do better. Like there's things you need here to do better. This is good, do better. Like it's not one of those scenarios where I think someone should just have torched the script and then thrown the writer out of the room. It's like, okay, you know what you're doing. Good. X through it, do better, because you can do better. Yeah, I appreciated the dynamic between McGregor and Hathaway. That worked very well. One of the other reasons I think this movie doesn't rise to the, girl boss level is Anne Hathaway is not presented as completely sympathetic. When he confronts her about, you've been thinking about leaving me and the kids, what the hell's wrong with you? And her response is to just, no, I'm not. It's just a story I'm writing. Like, no, lady, you have dual citizenship. You're so deep in denial, you have dual citizenship with Egypt. Like, come on.
Speaking of conflict avoidance, actually, which brings up something I wanted to mention before. There were two things I meant to say in my own bit, and you talking about Anne Hathaway here. As a parent, we've all had that moment where you don't have any answers and you're trying to figure out shit on the fly and you're just trying to get some oxygen to your brain so you can think about what to do next. And there's a kid going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And you fucking lose it and you snap and you bite the kid's head off and you say, I don't fucking know. Stop bothering me. And you realize you've injured the child. They'll live, but you do have to repair after that because, you've overreacted out of the fact that you're just so emotionally exhausted in that moment. And I've been there. Every parent has been there at one point or another. And it was a very real moment. And I like the way that they handled it. I don't know if you're going to get to it, but I do like, it was nice to see a movie that there was no scientist. There was no military. There were no easy answers. Yeah. And they were in and out of the situation in a short enough period of time that this didn't turn into a survivalist movie where they're having to now figure out how to live in the land of the lost. Like, it was an encapsulated enough event and enough easy outs that it was like, react to what's happening around you. We don't really need to go scientific with this, and then just give them like Drinker made a point of saying like why are there wormholes popping in and out of here? Who knows? This doesn't really matter. It's not what the movie was about. And you have to, and either you kill the family in the past or they go home. This was not everything needs lore. Not everything needs a giant scientific explanation. And I like the fact that the movie didn't have one. Go ahead.
No, I don't disagree with that. I mean, at a certain point when you approach some of this, a movie like this in particular, like genuinely part of the buy-in is that something that's going on here is either not how it actually works in real life, or we're just never actually going to explain for the sake of the premise. You come up with a good enough explanation.
Yeah.
And random wormholes and space anomalies and solar flares is largely going to be good enough. I mean, for crying out loud, like there's a somewhat famous movie called Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea that's about the Van Allen radiation belts catching fire, which is impossibly stupid. But like, okay, it's the premise of the movie. No one knows what the Van Allen radiation belts are. They're a genuine phenomena. So what if they went on fire?
Do you remember when we reviewed a couple of months back The Core?
Yeah.
You know?
It is the dumbest possible premise.
But you go with it because it's not what the movie is about.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, it's okay to say it's dumb. It really is.
You know,
but
I do think that that's a lost art of like film experience and criticism is that people think that like the gimmick is the plot and it's not.
Yeah.
The gimmick is the dinosaurs. The gimmick is the wormhole. The plot is this family and the arc they go on. That's what I said before. Like, it's Marriage Story interrupted by Jurassic Park, which I kind of love as an elevator pitch.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, the other thing, I hate to say this because it's become shorthand for please just shut up and stop thinking about things. Which is not a thing which is not a philosophy I will ever subscribe to. But the whole like CinemaSins method of, you know, let's tally every little thing is a bad way to go about criticism. Now again, people say that as an excuse to go, but I like the Spider-Man swinging. Like, shut up, you child. Be an adult. Like, we can have a legitimate conversation about what's wrong with the movie. And look, if some of that is not nitpick, some of that is serious problems. But if there's a kind of film discussion on the internet in particular that winds up going into the most granular of details in ways that are unhelpful. And
so about the movie.
So a point being about this, like, oh no, there's wormhole. Yeah, like this is one of the things the drinker mentioned. I like the way he put it because I think he's right. This is the kind of movie you used to see as like a sci-fi original back in the day on the cable station, just with a 10x the budget and a much better cast. Like, but this is the kind of thing that would be a sci-fi original film. Hey, what happens if suburban family gets transported to the dinosaurs? Right up there with like, what if a you know, frozen saber-toothed tiger from the Ice Age thawed out and was alive and attacked a bunch of delinquent teenagers on a nature hike, which is real things that they did there. Like, so in that respect, you just kind of have to understand the genre that you're dealing with and accept it. Otherwise don't watch. And I hate to be that guy because I think that's a stupid line of, again, discussion and criticism. But seriously, there's a bit of buy-in that has to happen here. And you have to take the ride. Now, about the other characters, again, the daughter character could have been left out of this. She does nothing other than say, well, Carl Sagan talked about wormholes. Like, yeah. Other than that, she
adds to the cacophony of screaming, and she intermittently either helps her brother or is saved by her brother.
Yeah, she's borderline vestigial. The son, my problem with the son is not that he's very, very stupid. I mean, he is, but it's that he's stupid in ways that are clearly designed to do nothing but push the plot forward. And that, at that point, all I see is the author going, we have to do this thing. Well, what are we going to do? Well, the stupid kid does it. Why? Because he's a stupid kid. This is a failure of writing. There's a very easy way to give the kid something to do in this, because he doesn't have anything to do other than chase the dog and look awkwardly at girls. And the second one I can forgive because he's an awkward, stupid teenager. He's a 13-year-old kid. Yes, he looks awkwardly at girls. Most 13-year-old boys do. I hate to break this to everybody. But let him be the dinosaur nerd. Like, we don't have to change anything else about him, but let him be the nerd about dinosaurs.
Let him react to the fact that because in 1982, we still thought they were lizards.
Yeah, like there's actually some stuff you could do without wildly altering the character you created.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be like, oh no, T-Rex isn't supposed to be all that fast. Oh crap, it's fast.
Just at one point, just throwing the book in the air. Like, I had it with this.
But he could be the one that knows the names. Like he can be the one that there's things you can do without turning him into a genuine like obnoxious know-it-all, and without turning him into the weird science kid who saves the day. Like you can just be a dinosaur nerd. And I think that's what I would have done with him, because it gives him something to do. And in the movie as it currently stands, all he does is go, "Hey, the dog," and then chase after it.
Yeah, you're right. They needed to give him something other than reacting to his parents splitting up.
And
projecting on the dog.
Yeah, that's just, again, it's kind of just poor writing when there's a very easy, obvious thing you can do to do it better, which is a lot of my gripe with this movie in certain respects. I don't need you to throw another 20 minutes onto this, because I actually appreciate the lean runtime, genuinely. But there's depth and texture that you could have added very, very easily that would have cost you nothing to add to it, and you didn't. And that, I can only see the big gaps there that could have been filled in easily. As far as some of the other craft elements go, instead of just narrative ones, this director has a really nice trick. He overuses it a bit here, but he will frame certain things very close to camera and then put a bunch of negative space over here. Like your face would occupy this spot on my screen, and it's very close to the camera. And then over here, back that away, something's moving. He does this a fair bit. He does it a fair amount in It Follows, but it works in It Follows and it works here because it's about how aware are you of what's going on around you. You have to be cognizant.
There were a couple of fake out moments where, so somewhere in the past decade or so, it became a really funny thing to hit somebody with a car. But you don't just hit them with a car. They're standing in the middle of a street or a field or somewhere, and a car comes from like a wormhole and just runs the person over. Yeah. So like,
or you can be a nice old construction worker walked back into traffic by Jean Grey, who's totally not a killer.
Please get over that.
That's a recent example of the phenomenon.
I was going to go with Mean Girls.
Where the bus comes along, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like the fucking bus didn't see her. Like, what are we doing? Why is the bus going 80 in a school zone? But it's that kind of a thing. And there were a couple of times in this movie, is the point that I'm making, where the camera is pulled back, the character is standing in a wide open frame shot, and I'm waiting for the bus to hit her, or or in this movie, a dinosaur to come into range, and then nothing happens. And I have to assume it's his way of building tension. It's a way to signal to the audience that at any given time something may or may not happen in this movie that's going to come out of nowhere.
Yeah. As a general rule, I'm okay with this is one of those really stupid arguments that people have, and I have to explain on occasion why this is stupid. Oh boy, you didn't see the giant T-Rex coming at you? And I have to just kind of face palm, like, what do you think that thing is? First of all, like, fundamentally, what is that? That's a predator. How do you think it kills things? By causing a mild tremor every time it steps? It would never catch anything. Like, our understanding of what it means to be in proximity to something like that is shaped by Steven Spielberg going, this is cool if every time the T-Rex steps, the water shakes because it builds tension, which it does beautifully in Jurassic Park, but it leads you to think, oh, the big thing over there makes a lot of noise when it walks. That's not how this works. You're a predator. You have to be, say it with me, everyone, quiet. Otherwise,
stealthy. Oh, stealthy is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, you have to be stealthy. Otherwise, every time you take a step, everything you might eat that's in 100-yard radius goes, no, we're going that way.
Yeah, every time you heard brrr, every animal would be like, oh shit, it's the thing that eats me.
Yeah,
and
we
run.
have to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so, no, the T-Rex is, yes, it's quiet because it wants to kill you and eat you. And it does that by sneaking up on you a
That
little
was the
bit.
most effective part of the snake bit, was that it just came in so goddamn quiet, and the director here and everybody else that worked on that scene was smart enough to make it quiet. Like, there's not a lot of ambient noise in that scene.
There's not a lot
Nor was there a score.
Yeah, it's just, oh boy, there's that thing. And a good movie like this, and this is one of the best things about this movie, it makes you as an audience member aware of yourself, how little you pay attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the kid is packing and his back's to his door. You don't know what's going on outside your door. Now,
Right.
in the modern world, you assume that because all your doors are locked, all your doors and windows are closed and locked, you're probably okay. But in the situation they're in, no, you're not. In reality, like even in modern day, like, no, you're not necessarily as safe as you think you are. And anytime they're out walking around, like because you as the audience member are looking at what's going on behind them and around them and way over that way on the other side of that house where the tail just went by.
So you've moved, a bunch of times. I don't know if you've ever had a house where there were raccoons or squirrels or things that could get into an attic or run across your roof.
Mm-hmm.
But
stuff like that, yeah.
You don't always know in that moment what the sound is. You just hear scratching or pitter patter.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Because I've had that happen to me where I think we had some animal get into our attic in the old house, and I remember hearing like scratches in the middle of the night, and definitely I knew something was up there. And I'm like, but the rest of the house is quiet, so it's eerie, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So this plays around with that. Again, it does a good job of making you as the audience, again, aware of how much you don't pay attention to what's going on around you, which is a good suspense movie, a good thriller movie like this will do that to you. And I mean that as a high compliment. Yeah, the dinosaurs mostly look fine. ILM can do dinosaurs in their sleep at this point, basically. Did I have anything else? I think if I'm going to point out another weakness, the score is kind of just generic.
Yeah. Nothing that stood out to me with the score.
Yeah. And so that would be, again, kind of a weakness. But on the whole, like, this is a throwback to a kind of, mid-budget genre movie that we don't get enough of anymore. And
yeah, I hope this does well, because it's the kind of thing you and me keep saying that we wish there were more of.
We really do, and I'm sure it'll be a big hit on streaming when it gets there and people finally get around to watching it.
Yeah. So let me ask you one last question. I really just want a short answer here. We don't have to have a whole long conversation about it. Clearly, the thing that I tuned into was the human dynamic between, most especially, the husband and the wife. It's partially because of my profession, partially because of my curiosities and interests that pushed me into this profession in the first place. I also am just wired differently than you. There are things about human behavior and human relationships that I'm genuinely interested in. So I'm thinking are more inflating this movie maybe past where it naturally should be, but I'm kind of mixing in my interest. Is part of the problem for you? None of that stuff. It may be interesting to you in general in different places. It just wasn't here.
My interest in it is not enough for me to put it where you put it.
Mm-hmm.
When you said, "Boy, this is like my second favorite movie of the year," I kind of went, because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen the movie yet when I saw that message from you. So I kind of went, "Oh boy," because when Mark really loves something, there's only this is probably true of me as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when Mark really loves something, there's only two categories that falls into. One is it is genuinely one of the best movies. The other is it's mostly well made, but has like 2 or 3 things that really scratch an itch that you have.
Yeah.
This is more that. This is not a badly made movie, but this speaks more to you because you're you, and I don't mean that as an insult.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Look, if the drinker were here right now, I don't think the drinker is a sociology or a psychology professional. I think he's a guy that watches movies and seems to understand narrative film craft better than most. Same thing of what used to be Red Letter Media, though Mike seems to have given up. Well, Mike seems to be at the place I am right now. He was there like 5 years ago. But like the two guys from Red Letter Media, Mike and Jay, and Critical Drinker, seem to understand narrative craft better than most people whose stuff I watch. And because they're not as keyed into the finer points of man and woman dynamics, human relationships, the pitfalls of marriage, that stuff might not appeal to them, and therefore they're looking at everything else. And I think that's kind of where you are, where, for me, I'm hyper focused on Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor to the point that nothing else in this movie to me mattered as much. And you're like the inverse of that.
Not quite the inverse, mostly because I think the reality is if you take away the family dynamic from this movie, you don't have anything. Like you have an occasionally scary, occasionally kind of.
Well, you have people running from it's a monster movie.
It's not even a good monster movie, though.
Well, that's my point. Like,
no, I don't disagree with you.
It's people running from monsters, and I wouldn't be interested then. Like, I'd watch it. Like, I watched it. Like, look, we watched the MonsterVerse movies, not the universe monsters like King Kong and Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like the very first Kong versus Godzilla movie, I loved that movie, but I accepted it for what it was. It was a stupid monster movie. And this is not that. This is, like I said, this is a human drama inside a monster movie.
Yeah, and that's the way. The trick with genre filmmaking is to do that. You find something else that is super interesting, and then you stick it and then you throw the genre trappings around it. I mean,
well, thinking about Kong versus Godzilla, though, I think the thing that, because it lacked in human drama, it lacked in human characters, quite frankly, but it made up for it in giant spectacle. Here, the giant spectacle isn't there. It's a couple of different set pieces that are intense and possibly scary, and and if they had left the blood in bloody, it's definitely like implied blood. It was
there's a lot of again, this movie, like
PG-13 blood.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said, like, I think the original draft of this movie, in script form, had a lot more blood and violence in it.
I'll tell you what, if I'm J.J. Abrams or if I'm a studio executive, I'm absolutely telling them to do that. Like, I agree with that decision, because while in its purest form, in a fair world, yes, blood and guts should be all over the screen. You should, it should be in 4D, and you should leave like you went to a Gallagher concert. On the other hand, I want this movie to make money, and I wanted to make money with the widest possible audience. So you kind of have to go, John Cena era WWE PG here, because you want the families to come up to see the dinosaur movie. And I think it's an okay trade-off in this case, especially because this isn't a spectacle movie.
Well, it also works because it maintains a lot of the central ideas of the tense horror segments. If this had gone full Land of the Lost, we'd be having a way different conversation. If they'd gone,
I don't think I would have liked it as much, quite frankly. You said lean runtime, and I love that. I also love the fact that we're going to show you a family falling apart, and then we're going to interrupt that family falling apart with dinosaurs, and they're going to run from the dinosaurs, and some of them are going to die, and then they're going to get out of there. Finn, cool. Like that. Well, I love the efficiency.
I mean, to the same point, like, what do you not to rehash this old chestnut, but it's the same thing as Die Hard. Die Hard is about the marriage falling apart, and John McClane and Shirley and his wife trying to get back together. And it's interrupted by terrorist attack and take over the building.
Yeah.
But the movie's about the family getting back together at Christmas, when it's a Christmas movie.
Yep. Just to kind of pile onto that point, and then we'll go, like Home Alone. Home Alone is Kevin McAllister realizing his family family is worth having. It's worth being a part of a family. You don't want to be a lone orphan. It's interrupted by a home invasion.
It's interrupted by Joe Pesci and what's his face being comedic geniuses. But
yes, it's a home invasion. It's just a silly one.
yeah,
Those silly home invasions.
Nothing funnier than that.
Yes, right? Like I said, there's nothing funnier than breaking and entering. All right, are we? We're gonna wrap.
I feel like you're about to segue into a naked swimming joke after that.
Wouldn't you like to know? All right, here it is.
Not really, but you insist on sharing.
Here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Ah, yes, now.
Okay. I just heard an absolutely not to your naked swimming story from someone in my house who's listening to our show.
Wonderful. Everyone's got an opinion. Ronnie's last comment here. It's what we call in the storyline business the hook. All right. On a alluded to possible budget of $92 million.
It's somewhere between 80 and 90, give or take.
It's made $47 million as of this writing.
Look, man, when you need it to make around 200 million to really feel comfortable making money, and I don't think it's going to get there.
As of August 16th, 2026, The End of Oak Street has grossed $21 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $26 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $47 million. In the U.S. and Canada, The End of Oak Street was released alongside Paw Patrol, the Dino movie. What counter programming? The Brink of War, and was projected to gross around 20 to 25 million during its opening weekend. In addition, it was projected to make more than 2 million in Thursday night previews. The film was produced, as I said, on a budget of 92 million. Spider-Man Brand New Day, it looks like it opened up in more theaters. 3 weeks out. Still the number one movie in the world, and we're going to talk more about Spider-Man in just a moment. The Odyssey.
Mark, can we just talk for 1 second about how back superhero movies are?
No.
Because between Spider-Man and Supergirl, the comic book movies have grossed $2.1 billion.
Stop that. Actually, I did see, since you must bring this up, I don't want to spend too long on this because I feel like every show we talk about this now, and I'm kind of getting sick of it. But I saw something today that said Doomsday is tracking to make $2 billion. That apparently in pre-sales, it's breaking all kinds of records.
I'm not going to be... Look, the problem with Doomsday is that, $2 billion is like your break-even point.
Well, okay. But for once, let's not look at this like we get a cut and just talk about what is and what isn't. And I've been saying it's not going to make $2 billion. I've been really bearish on Doomsday, and I'm looking like I'm going to end up eating crow.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of was joking that it was going to bomb, and here's the thing.
You know what I don't understand? I don't understand with what they've shown so far why anyone thinks this is. Why anyone wants to go like. It's an amazing thing to me that at this point, which we have such Pavlovian responses to things, that despite 5 to 6 years of Marvel crap, people are like, oh, but every character from the last 5 to 6 years, and Robert Downey Jr.'s back, and Chris Evans back. Boy.
Hang on. Here's why people are getting excited, because pay attention to what the trailers don't show a lot of. Shang-Chi, Shuri, Namor.
You're right. They're excited for the fucking X-Men, speaking of Pavlovian responses.
Hey, look, we can kill the X-Men again. It'll be the 15th time we have ended the Charles.
At the same time this is happening, they just did D23, and the big news out of that is, oh, look, the X-Men are back. And I'm like, this is, again, maybe just old man yells at clouds, and I'll accept that. But let the old man have his say. It's 2026, and there's a large enough portion that this matters, this has impact, that still aren't over the fucking X-Men? Really? Is there a chronological 70 to 12-year-old age gap that is the mentality of 10 that is still obsessed with the fucking X-Men? What the fuck?
I don't know. Look, there's people who are apparently kind of excited. I said this, I think, last week, maybe the week before. My big concern about the X-Men in the MCU is just kind of as follows. Like the X-Men, an enormous component of what makes X-Men stories work is Eros. They're a horny bunch of
Yeah,
bastards.
you said this last week. Let me say this. I did this rant for my kids, and they always get like, the routine at the small club, and then I come here to the Showtime at the Apollo.
They're your sounding board. We got you.
Yeah. So my son kind of laid it out to me. He was like, Father, he called me Father. He says, Father, nobody knows the X-Men that you know. You know the X-Men from when the X-Men movies came out. Kids my age haven't seen those movies. So they've never had X-Men before. And they weren't watching them even during the time of the post Days of Future Past First Class run of movies that ended with Dark Phoenix. Like, there's an entire slew of kids that know the X-Men cartoons, they know the X-Men comic books, they know the X-Men characters, they know the X-Men video games, but they've never had X-Men movies. And they don't have fathers that show them the X-Men movie. So again, what you're seeing the reaction to is two. One, man children, but also real children who've never had X-Men movies before, and you're going to have to let them have their reaction. Like, all right, that's fair.
Yeah, again, like my concern is just, what there's a handful of things that make the X-Men stories actually work properly and run on an engine. And the MCU thus far has been averse to at least two of the major components that make X-Men function.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So back to the topic at hand. All right. The Odyssey, 5 weeks out, still remains the number 2 movie in the world. End of Oak Street debuted at 3. Paw Patrol debuted at 4. Cat's Eye debuted at 5. 6, the musical debuted at 6. The Brink of War debuted at 7. Toy Story, 9 weeks out, dropped from 4 to 8. One night only, and its second week dropped from 3 to 9. Nobody fucking saw this movie.
I was not aware of it. I was aware of its existence, but
we talked about it.
We did, but look, here's the thing. The audience for that kind of movie is not going to see it multiple times as a general rule. So
when it comes on PV, I don't know. So I read aloud. I'm not going to do it right this second, but I've decided that I want to keep doing this podcast because I enjoy talking to you, but I don't want podcasting to be the only reason I watch movies anymore. I've kind of over that. And TikTok was sort of the missing piece for me. So you've seen what I'm doing. I did for I Love Boosters. You're watching you're dating a narcissist, young Sheldon, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I went through the entire calendar of movies of stuff that we would have never talked about on here, or we never had time for, or stuff as I will quote it to you, what I said last night, stuff that if I pitched to you or have pitched to you, you'd want to shoot me. So I have a long list now of movies that just came out this year that I want to watch because now I have an avenue for talking about them that doesn't involve this. And on
I'll try not to be hurt.
The fuck? Why would you be hurt?
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Robert. Okay.
It was an attempt at humor that didn't land. Keep going.
No, now you've pushed me into a corner. Okay. I was leading up to saying, and One Night Only is on that list, which is a movie you already told me you wouldn't want to watch or review, which is fine. Also, there's no time in the schedule to do it. And I don't want to have to create. I have no idea which one of us is frozen. And Robert's gone. Well, isn't that just peachy? I'm sure Robert will be back in a moment. Hopefully. Or I'm going to have to vamp a lot. Ah, there he is.
Sorry, I genuinely don't know what happened there. I got an error that said, you're kicked out. And I'm okay, reload and we're good. That was not, no, I would own it if that was performance art.
All right. So this is what you're missing out of, you son of a bitch. The Drama, The Invite, Relationship Goals, Solo Mio, The Napa Boys, Operation Taco Gary's, Citizen. Ronnie's going to make the joke that I made all these movies names up like I do band names. Citizen Vigilante, Clicker, Chum, Protector, 72 Hours, Balls Up, Never Change, Ladies First, Corporate Retreat, Strung, Touch Me, You, Me, and Tuscany, Robert Winfrey. Outcome, The Christophers, Beast, Roommates. Some of these should sound familiar because I was trying to get you to do them in that big long list of movies, and then
Yeah,
I changed it to Soulmate.
for the record, you've listed a couple that I may hate the movies, but I would not object to talking about them with you. Some of
Oh,
these, no.
Well, you could talk to me about that off air if I need to make a correction here. But
No, you don't. I'm
Okay.
I'm kind of just being overly dramatic for the sake of.
Beast, Roommates, Desert Warrior, Deep Water, One Spoon of Chocolate, Rodney Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast.
Hey, that works.
Is God Is, In the Gray, Power Ballad, Miss You, Love You, Propeller One Way, Night Coach, Fuck Toys. Do you remember when I used to talk about Fuck Toys, Robert Winfrey?
You've never stopped.
Fuck Toys is currently not available on streaming anywhere because it can't find a distributor. And I don't understand why Fuck Toys can't find a distributor, Robert Winfrey. Can you believe that? Fuck Toys can't find a distributor? Not even one?
I'm sure it will stream on Pornhub.
I hope. Office Romance, In the Hands of Dante, Never Change, The Death of Robin Hood, Voicemails for Isabel, Little Brother, Young Washington, They Fight, The Dink, Her Private Hell, The Devil's Mouth, I Want Your Sex, One Night Only, Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, Tony.
My youngest brother was going to go see that. I desperately tried to stop him from making a terrible choice.
Don't Say Good Luck, The Brink of War, The Last Sunrise, The Dog Stars, and The Furious. That was recommended to me last night. That was I had that one.
The Furious is actually, you won't like it. Let me just start there. I don't think you'll like it. It's too much, as you would say, kung fu fighting. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was pitched to me, and that's what the pitch was, and I didn't have the heart to argue with people that I probably won't like this, but they said watch it, so I'm going to. Anyway, so that's the list of movies that I was sparing you from, but now you're being a big sissy about the whole thing. So I will now make 87 triple features.
Okay, hang on. Look, you read that list off. There's a handful of those I would actually be perfectly fine talking with you about.
Mm-hmm.
So I will get back, send me that in written form at some point, and I'll get back to you with the ones that if you need to fill out triple features, here's the ones that were good.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to do this right now while I'm thinking about it because I will forget. Robert Winfrey. There you are. Come on. There we are. And googly. And here we go. And boom. There it is.
Thank you much.
Okay. Alrighty. Anyway, back to this old thing. Vishwanath and Sons debuted at 10. Your Name, 10th anniversary from G Kids. I guess that's an anime of some sort. It's 12.
Yes, it is. Your Name is actually great.
Okay.
If you've that's really good. That's a really good one.
Excuse me. The Rivals of Amzia King.
I'm so glad that finally came out. I need to try and find it because that was actually done last year. It's Matthew McConaughey and who's the other guy? It's because that was the reason I wanted to watch it. One's Matthew McConaughey, Kurt Russell is the other one.
Nimrods, which I guess is something about having to do with Green Day. That's at 16. The Wrong Girls debuted at 19. Train to Busan 2026 re-release.
I couldn't find a showing around me. I would have gone to see that. I love that movie.
Elijah Peel debuted at 22. Wet Hot American Summer re-release is 24. Union Country 28. American Doctor 33. Billy Liar 45.
A lot of re-releases.
It certainly was, Ollie. Oh, I forgot that. Did I? I did not add one to my list. I need to add this. Reading Lolita in Tehran.
You don't have to send that one to me. I don't want to. You don't want to talk with me about that.
It's really fine. All right, and so that was the weekend that was worldwide. Spider-Man: Brand New Day crossed into the $2 billion.
It's gonna double the Odyssey probably in the near future.
Yeah, certainly looking that way. The Odyssey's at 1.2, Toy Story's at 1.1, Michael's at 1.0, just above Super Mario Galaxy, which is also 1.0. And then we dropped 400 million to The Devil Wears Prada 2, which I'm going to watch this Friday with my kids. Project Hail Mary, 684. Pegasus 3, 656. Obsession, 495. Minions and Monsters, 492. And that is the top 10. Movies that did not make the top 10. Star Wars, Moana, Disclosure Day, Scary Movie, Scream 7, the Drama, Sheep Detectives, Mortal Kombat 2, Supergirl in a threesome. with Mortal
Supergirl
Kombat and
didn't
the
make
King's
more than
Warden.
Mortal Kombat 2. And again, between Supergirl and Spider-Man, the superhero genre is making over $2 billion.
Supergirl is doing slightly better than Masters of the Universe, which is now comfortably on Amazon.
Yeah, but it's fine on Amazon, and Amazon's okay with that, whereas Warner Brothers is over there pissing blood.
And speaking of pissing blood, The Bride at 23 million between
That did, in
Hokum
fact, made me urinate an uncomfortably dark color.
and 78. But however, it did do better than You, Me, and Tuscany. So there's that.
Wanted to make a very bad joke there, but
Now realizing there's more movies that I wanted to add to my list here. I got to add How to Make a Killing.
I don't know. Look, they're your movies. You find the interesting ones. That's fine and dandy.
That's one of these where, like, now that I'm doing this little project for myself, it's just like, okay, I'm no longer confined by what we do on here. So it's like there's stuff that I kind of want to look at. Like, I don't know if I'm going to like them or not, but now I have the freedom to figure out if I do or I don't.
Okay, the last thing I want to touch on before we get off the money, because this is relevant to the money. Because this End of Oak Street is a Warner Brothers picture. And at the moment, the merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers is being challenged legally, which is fine. That's the right of relevant parties to do so. But there's a lot of people going, but Warner Brothers is doing so fine. Their movies, won a bunch of Oscars last year and whatnot, and Warner Brothers doesn't need to be sold, and I have to put my head in my hands and just weep for people who are stupid. Guys, Warner Brothers is not exploring this option because they're doing well. They're not.
What people need to realize is that this is an oil tanker, and it takes a lot to turn it around, to quote Lieutenant Daniels from The Wire. Warner Brothers lost money year after year after year for a long time.
And they're still losing. Here, what have they done this year that's made legitimate money? Like, they're banking almost everything on Dune Part 3. I mean, bring up their slate for the year thus far. Let's just, for the sake of...
Give me a second here. Research all the movies released by Warner Brothers in the year of our Lord in 2026 and their budgets versus worldwide gross. All right.
Not sure I trust your LLM to do this properly, but I'm okay. Let's find out.
Well, it's thinking currently. I currently have the high. I mostly keep it on high level of thinking so I can see what it's doing. I'm treating this as Warner Brothers theatrical releases actually released in 2026 through August 17th, including WB distributed New Line titles and comparing reported production budgets against worldwide gross. I'll flag budgets that are estimates and not publicly reported rather than inventing numbers.
Much appreciated.
The pattern is pretty stark. Warner's year is not uniformly disastrous. Wuthering Heights, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and Evil Dead Burn are cleared theatrical performers. The Bride is the catastrophic miss, while Supergirl and Mortal Kombat 2 are expensive underperformers despite much larger grosses.
Okay, no, Fancy. The Bride is not a catastrophic failure. Yes, it was not good, but they didn't need it to do big numbers. They expected Supergirl to be a big hit.
All right, well, here's the deal. Wuthering Heights is an $80 million production budget. It made $241. So
profitable.
The Bride, $80 million. It made $23.
Failure.
They will kill you. $20 million versus 19.38.
Failure.
Lee Cronin's The Mummy, 22 versus 90.5.
You said 90?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's profitable.
Profitable. It's more profitable than Wuthering Heights was.
Yeah, based on the math, yes.
Mortal Kombat 2, 80 million versus 129.4.
Fail.
Supergirl, 170 versus 126.34.
Catastrophic fail.
Evil Dead Burns, 20 million versus 71.43.
Yeah, marginally profitable.
The End of Oak Street is currently 85 million versus 47. So that the jury's out.
Probably not going to be profitable.
So according to this, the aggregate picture for those 8 movies, combined budgets was 555. Take 2. Combined budget. Take 3. Combined production budgets about 557 million. Combined worldwide box office so far about 749.8 million. But that 1.35 aggregate gross to budget ratio is much uglier than it sounds. Worldwide box office is not money returned directly to Warner, and these production budgets don't represent the entire cost of releasing and marketing films.
Correct. So, point being, year to date, this is the stark picture for Warner Brothers as a production studio. It's not good.
Okay. It's important for people to let's pick an easy, low-hanging fruit. The DC slate. You and I reviewed every single movie except for Man of Steel. So let's start with BVS because we reviewed it, and we reviewed every single DC movie up till Aquaman, right? And
Black Adam. We've reviewed all of them. Like we did Black Adam. We've done the gun stuff. All of it.
Right. So, I was just sticking with the point that I'm trying to get to is the amount of failures just in that slate of movies alone. They lost money on Wonder Woman, but on Wonder Woman 84 rather. They lost money on Suicide Squad, both of them. They lost money on The Flash. They lost money on Black Adam. They lost money on Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah.
And I think even Aquaman 2 underperformed.
They lost money on Aquaman 2. We talked about that when it came out.
The ones that were successful, not counting Man of Steel, BVS underperformed. It made money, but it underperformed versus what it was projected to. It was projected to go over $1 billion, just like Avengers did. It didn't. It missed by 300 million.
Yeah, it didn't hit the billion mark, which they wanted it to.
Wonder Woman was successful. Aquaman was successful. Aquaman made $1 billion. That's it.
Yeah, Justice League for a number of reasons wound up failing. Yeah, the Flash was.
And then God bless them. They everyone looks at, Zack Snyder got his just desserts. He was able to make his 4-hour Justice League cut. Okay, they made no money on that. Do people understand what happened there? Is they conceded to the fans that were demanding he get his vision made and took a loss on it on the hopes this would make people sign up for HBO Max. They couldn't retain those people.
Also,
HBO Max has changed its name 10 times.
They also didn't pay as much for the production there. A lot of that was crowdfunded. For a big chunk of that.
So no one can tell me like that helped. Is my point.
No, it almost certainly wasn't a giant help, a boon in any sort of capacity. Yeah, it's just again, it's struggle after struggle after struggle after struggle, and one or two movies that are Oscar bait of the highest order don't alter that course.
Right.
And now this year, we just went over it. It ain't good. Their only movie on the calendar this year that I think could reasonably be projected to be successful is Dune Part 3. And that's their gamble, man. If that underperforms too, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, for anyone thinking, this is what I don't like about people who don't really study this stuff is they very much take what is happening right now and apply it to stuff that you actually have to have a longitudinal understanding of. Yeah. So I made the Oriole Tinker reference. And it's hard to have a conversation with those people because it's like they argue that the sun is out. Yes, but the sun is approaching the Earth and it's going to burn the planet up. Okay, but it's sunny. I don't understand your point. Ugh. That's why I don't leave the
but
house.
you know, again, but you know, one battle after another, and Sinners came out last year, and they were, you know,
One battle after another lost money.
yeah, I know.
Like, who's
You and
making-
I know
who's-
that.
Who's making that point?
You'd be surprised.
All right, last thing I want to bring up before we and I really do want to talk about this.
Okay.
I got the trailer for Violent Night 2, like the full trailer. I
have not
I
seen
had-
that yet. I don't think I've seen the full trailer yet, but I'm aware of it.
I've seen the teaser with the Mrs. Claus with the hammer and everything, and I just like rolled my eyes. I don't remember enough of Violent Night to remember if that's a carryover from the first movie or an invention of this one. Doesn't matter.
The
I don't
hammer
care.
is Mrs. Claus is a bit more. Was a bit more nebulous.
Okay. In any case, I saw the full trailer for Violent Night. There's a phenomenon going on, and we talked about this last week with Soulmate in regards to Megan and Megan 2, where they make a movie. It's successful both in presentation and financials. And it's usually a fairly simple premise that is fun for the people watching it and probably doesn't need anything more than that. But because it does well financially, Lizard Brain takes over and a sequel is ordered and
Mandated.
mandated, yeah. And here's the phenomena. Everything good about the original gets stripped out, and the second one is as stupid, more broadly appealing, and of almost a different genre than the first one. That's what we said about Megan and Megan
inevitably
2.
loses money.
Yeah, that's what's happening with Violent Night 2, to the point where, like, we're going to review it because this is what we do here, but I don't want to go see this movie. It looks terrible. Like, it is the wrong genre. It is not, like, the thing with Violent Night was sort of this appreciation of, like, Viking Santa Claus hitting people with hammers.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, they turned to, it's kind of like,
Well, that and David Harbour's charm as like slightly disgruntled Santa Claus.
yeah, this one, it's kind of like what they did with Nobody, where
Okay.
Nobody is the really gritty thing, and then Nobody 2 comes out, and it's utterly divorced from whatever made Nobody work. Same thing here. To the
Okay.
point where, like, if me and you ever, like, owned a studio, I would have 10 commandments at the front of the building, and commandment none, there will be no sequels. I don't give a fuck how much the movie makes. Tell your story and then tell a new story. Because the art of the sequel is dying, Robert Winfrey. If this is evidence to a bigger theory that I've got going on here, is that they are ruled by the idea of make it broader, and it's ruining sequels. It's awful.
Yeah. The franchise IP has killed the notion of what it means to actually be a sequel to something.
You couldn't make Terminator 2 today, because Terminator 1 was a completely different thing than Terminator 2, but they would have taken the elements of Terminator 1 and just said, now make it a broader horror movie.
Yeah.
You know,
They
but
would have
also
completely missed it.
but add elements of comedy to it.
The only franchise I think that successfully pulls this off is Lethal Weapon, because
Mhm.
comedy is kind of inherent to it to
Look
begin
how
with.
fucking far back you had to go for that example.
I know. I'm aware, but like Lethal Weapon starts as this like sort of gritty, violent character bit with, you know, Mel Gibson putting a gun in his mouth nude in his trailer.
That talks lovingly about suicide.
And, you know, rediscovers his love of life and what's going on and reconnects with the world around him. And then the sequel introduces Joe Pesci. And, you know, we just get a little bit, but even the fourth one, while, you know, there's the odd bits where they just let Joe Pesci and Chris Rock do stand up against each other, basically, for a segment. It's a bit broader and still a bit more comedic, and you've lost a touch of the edge. But by that point, we care about the characters so much that we go with it still, because the character work is still impeccable.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of dead now.
I would assume the trailer is on YouTube. When we're done here, go look at that trailer and
I'll
message
find
me.
it. Yeah.
It's just fucking terrible. And I'm we're gonna watch it, and maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'll eat my words. I'm fine with that. I'd like to enjoy a movie going experience for a change, outside of this. But like, I just looked at that trailer and I'm like, oh god,
You
again.
completely misunderstood everything about this, and shame on you.
Yep. All right. With that said, let's move on to our final bit of the evening, the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Can't knock the hustle, baby.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yep. I have to imagine that 78% on the popcorn meter is people aggravated that Anne Hathaway is the lead and not Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, or they just weren't expecting it to be as violent as it was.
Maybe. All right. The all critics is 86% on the tomato meter. Top critics, it's 81, so negligible difference there. Verified audience is 78. All audience is 71. So the critics like this more than the audience did. There's a shock.
Not super surprising.
The AI writes, tapping into the primal pleasures of the classic creature feature, the end. I don't think people understand this movie. The end of Oak Street is pulpy, good fun, carried off with a light touch and a sharp bite.
The second half of that sentence is mostly accurate, at least.
Bob Grimm of Reno News and Review. Better than the last Jurassic World movie, but still not all that good.
In fairness, he's not wrong about this being better than the last Jurassic World movie.
Justin Chang of The New Yorker, Spielbergian humanism and Mitchell-esque. It's like people just watch one movie. It's like E.T., that's it. Alienation are an oil and water combo. And the upshot, even within the context of big budget piece summer escapism, is a nagging callousness.
No, this is not a callous movie just because it kills people. Come on now.
Alan Nig of Film Threat, or Knee, or however you pronounce it. The action is fine, but unless you're a fan of massive plot holes, whoever introduced the concept of plot holes to the average movie-going person or critic should be shot.
Look, I'm fine pointing out genuine plot holes. There's not a plot hole to be found here. There's some improbabilities and some certainly eccentricities, but that's not a plot hole. A plot hole is something that genuinely doesn't make sense within the plot itself, not an externality.
Best to skip this one or wait for it to come to streaming. Don't tell me what to do. You're not my mother. Jazane Sophia of Lady Geeks Media. It's the performance in the end of Oak Street that makes it believable and a worthwhile treat.
I don't think it's believable is maybe the wrong word you're trying to go for there, but I understand the thrust of what you're trying to get at, and I don't disagree.
Elise Chaffins of the Dominion Post. This movie captures many of the beats one might expect from a 1980s Spielberg blockbuster, but it falls short, giving us well-performed yet ultimately flat characters.
Several of the characters are on the flat side. I mean, we talked about that.
Speaking of flat, Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com. David Robert Mitchell proves exceptionally adept at crafting a fun throwback sci-fi adventure movie in the end of Oak Street. He honors his influences, but still presents a thrilling cinematic adventure. Very good, Jeff.
Also, for the record, anything Abrams does is inherently Spielbergian. He can't get away from Abrams, as even a producer, can't get away from that influence, and it's to his detriment at this point.
Al Alexander of Movies Through the Spectrum. Why do I not pine for the oak? Ugh. Boo.
No. I will accept that terrible pun only because I know a human came up with it. No AI would write that.
The reasons are many, from the awful casting to the cheesy, obviously fake-looking dinosaur chewing up a Detroit suburb circa 1982.
No, I look, as a CGI snob, if this stuff bothered you, I understand, and I can't comment because Lord knows I've made my complaints about that in the past.
Ryan Syrick of the Rita, Omaha, Nebraska. As much as it's so obviously long to be Spielbergian, take a drink, everybody. The only connection.
Hang on, there's more than just dinosaurs connecting those 2 points. I wish people would find better comparisons, but you've said it in a nostalgia point. You are dealing with time travel and silliness, and there are dinosaurs and a family drama. Like, yeah, there's an era of
and a Robert
Spielberg.
Zemeckis. Then we said it was Back to the Future, and like no one's picking up a Zemeckis here. Come on, like it's what I hate about it, Robert, is the low-hanging fruit of everyone going to the same thing instead of like professional critics stretching their film history knowledge.
Well, yeah, but none of these people actually know film history. I wouldn't even call this. Here's my problem. Like, this also isn't very Zemeckian.
It's as Zemeckian as it is Spielbergian.
No, it's a little more Spielbergian. There's a handful of reasons for it, but
I don't even think it's that Spielbergian.
Hang on. There's an era of Spielberg this is very much channeling, not the totality of Spielberg.
I guess when Spielberg, like, you know, in like The Fabelmans or Home, I think he was Home. Spielberg, Forrest Gump, I don't remember. Or is that Zemeckis?
No, Zemeckis is Forrest Gump.
But okay, this is my point. I'm making my own point by confusing the two. Is both Spielbergian and Zemeckis were able to handle family drama well and make it the centerpiece of a lot of their big, awe-inspiring movies. So for people to keep going Spielberg, like, no love to Zemeckis, who did the same fucking thing?
Don't know what to tell
like,
you.
I'm not saying you should reach for Joel Schumacher. I'm just...
no one referencing Lars von Trier here. I think we're...
I get it. It's not Refn-esque, but still, like, there are other directors than Spielberg who did this exact same thing. No love for Zemeckis. Makes me sad.
It was Zemeckis that did Forrest Gump. I gotta double check now.
Let's see. Stephen Procopi of Third Coast Review. The end of Oak Street.
Yeah, he did Forrest Gump. Okay.
As unbridled entertainment, but as a secret family drama, it's also wholly satisfying. All right, you can be our friend.
We need more of those.
Where are your wives? Here we go. Kalechi Ehanulo of Movie Maker, the future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey. The end of Oak Street might be a wild adventure, but it is an uneven one, a masquerading spectacle that leaves you feeling empty.
I'm not sure I would say this left me feeling empty. Like, I've had that experience with movies. I don't think this is one of them.
Scott Mendelson of the Outside Scoop Substack, which I hear Substack is falling apart.
Not surprised.
Glad I didn't jump on that train, as I was instructed to do.
I mean, it's not falling apart, but it's another one of those tech spaces where everyone assumes exponential growth never stops, and the reality is that's not what any of this works.
Anne Hathaway delivers her fourth great performance of 2024 in David Robert Mitchum's all thrilling, grimly funny, and genuinely scary adventure.
Hang on. So Odyssey, Devil Wears Prada, this one. What's the fourth?
Let your fingers do the walking. Let's see.
It's the other thing Anne Hathaway did this year.
List of Anne Hathaway performances. Jesus fucking Christ. How many goddamn...
It's long. She's been going for a while, Mark.
Ugh, seriously. Mother Mary.
Not aware of it, so okay.
Psychological drama film and written by David Lowery. The film stars Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole. It follows pop star Hathaway, whose reunion with her former costume designer forces her to confront her past. Oh, it's not a horror movie. It's a psychological drama.
Probably gets there by the end when the costume designer kills her, a la Selena. But
All right, now I got to add another film to my list here. Mother Mary.
we're just filling out Mark's poor schedule.
Yeah, this actually seems fun. This is another A24 movie.
Yeah. How did you get the trailer for Primetime ahead of this one?
Yeah, I added that to the schedule, right?
Yeah, I think I have two gripes with that. The more I've thought about it, one is I kind of am gonna hate the A24ism that goes on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Two, look, Robert Pattinson's a very good actor, but he doesn't look like Chris Hansen.
Does that matter to you?
A little bit in this case, yeah. And I'm not entirely sure why, but there's something about the fact that he looks so differently to him in the face. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is a weird thing, but like part of what made To Catch a Predator work the way it did was how Chris Hansen looked. Like, Chris Hansen sits down with a suit across from these people and says, "Why don't you tell me what's going on?" Something about his presentation and his facial construction leads you to go, okay, let me talk to this guy. If I walk into a house, if Robert Pattinson walks down the stairs, I'm running because look at that guy. Like, there's something about that that's disconnecting for me. And
He's
look,
the kind of guy that walks into machine gun fire, huh?
Robert Pattinson has the kind of face you expect to walk through the door looking for the kid, not the one to come down the stairs saying have a seat.
That's funny.
So
anyway,
like, it's a real minor gripe. Like I said, he's a really good actor. I'm not super worried about it, but for the sake of like one of my minor gripes,
I added it to the schedule. So there.
that's fine. I'm
So
not sure what got Ronnie's dear Lord there, but
who knows with the fucking two of us. Next week is Mutiny, then Acme versus Coyote, or Coyote versus Acme, and that's looking to be one of the better movies of this year. People seem to be really enjoying it. Here's how the rest of the year is looking. September 7th is By Any Means. And then we're doing a triple feature of Netflix movies that have come out the last little bit. The Whisper Man, The Last House, and Remarkably Bright Creatures. Then Resident Evil, Because God Hates Me. Then Prime Time.
it's Kreger. God may not hate you on this one.
And then we get into October. Digger apparently is. I saw the full trailer for Digger finally. Not the best of Tom Cruise. I am fucking super excited for Digger now. That looks amazing, and it's also getting Oscar buzz.
Mark, it's just one battle after another again. That's all that movie is.
Okay. Then we have speaking of which, then we have The Social Reckoning. Then we have Street Fighter.
Terrible. That also looks
then
terrible.
Clayface, unless of course the end of the world happens, which I would prefer.
Mark, you don't want the second coming to happen. I promise you that. Yeah, you have some soul cleansing to do before you can root for that.
Thanks, Father. Then we have
I don't have the ability to absolve you of your sins. That's not how that works.
Then we have Matchbox the movie on November 2nd.
Oh God, did you see a trailer for that? Have you seen the trailer for that one?
I have not, but we're doing it anyway.
I'm look up the trailer and then like laugh at it and
okay. And then we have Godzilla Minus Zero on November 9th.
Yes. Looking for Godzilla Minus Zero. Hell yes.
And then on the 16th, we're into November at this point. We have I Play Rocky. And then The Hunger Games, Because God Hates Me.
Yeah, that's because God hates us.
And then Hex, Because God Hates Children.
God does not hate children. Disney hates children.
And then Violent Night 2, as I said before. And then Madden on December 14th. And then Doomsday on the 21st. And then we end the year with Dune Part 3.
So that all tracks.
So that's what's coming up in the second half of the year. Not the worst slate ever. I only wanted to kill myself twice. By the way,
that's half as much as me.
So I saw a really funny thing, and then we'll get out of here.
All right.
It was like news that flashed across my social media feed, and it was Dune changes date. Dune to come out before Doomsday, and I'm like, oh, good. Hopefully, because I didn't want to have to wait to see it. Hopefully, it'll be out a week or two, and I just have to rearrange my damn Hollywood schedule. And it was like on select screens, it'll be on like IMAX 70 millimeter, and it's 4 days earlier. I'm like, Go fuck yourself. The clickbaity fucking titles of some of these articles makes me want to throttle somebody.
I completely understand.
It's like, you sons of bitch, you lie and you exaggerate. What are you, me? You know.
And then there's me who just believes in scrupulous honesty with my headlining. And then all I get is castigated for it. Like, why did you post a spoiler? Shut up.
Yeah. Damn you, Hollywood. Shut up. That's our byline.
It should be.
For over 20 years. Shut up.
Shut up, or your face.
Yeah, shut up, you face. You're making me. It's a wonder we're not any more popular than we are. Anywho.
Not really. Your TikTok's going to blow up at some point, and then I'm going to get inundated with people telling me I'm holding you back.
Anywho.
Oh, you didn't disagree with that. I am wounded, sir.
Yesterday, we had an hour and a half conversation about fandoms and and the modularization of culture, and spent 20 minutes on the album that we decided to talk about. That was Genghis Tron Signal File.
That's how this goes.
Signal Fire. It was a good show. I enjoyed having the band back together again. This Thursday, Kat is in for her next appearance. And we'll be talking Bring It On. We are deliberately ignoring all
somebody
of the...
randomly getting hit by a bus in the beginning of a movie.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Mark, that will be a wonderful opportunity for you to get back on your high horse about cultural appropriation in women.
I can't wait. I found a niche. Anywho,
that niche will devour you the first chance they get, by the way, just warning you.
Whatever. I got a lot. Look at me. There's a lot to devour here. Come and get it, people. Yeah, so Kat and I had a lovely discussion about bonding the week prior. She's back again this week. Hopefully she'll say Men Are Terrifying, an ongoing series, 50% less. So
these are the people you cultivate around you.
I'm a nice guy. We are deliberately ignoring the rest of the Bring It On series. I don't remember how many of them. I don't know how many of them were straight to video or in theaters, but I'm not acknowledging them. There's one Bring It On movie and one only. And then next week we've got, like I said, Mutiny, and then Jesse and I will be doing a Sessions. That's still going to happen despite my retiring of Fra Diavolo.
You've retired the band. The solo work continues.
Correct. It has a purpose and it meets the marketing criteria. Marketing criteria, I should say. So this month's session is From the Corner to the Deuce, and it will be based on Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Mostly because of the length of that song versus the length of the material being used for that song. So
I am endlessly curious how you're going to make that work.
So am I. It's ambitious. I am unlike Ewan McGregor. I have ambition. And
also,
lots to eat.
Also, unlike Ewan McGregor, you've never been paid millions of dollars to swing a lightsaber around.
This is also true. Anyway, speaking of trying to hit somebody in the head with a sword, Robert, why don't you tell us what you're doing these days?
Trying to hit myself in the head with a sword more often than not. Just trying to end the pain. I cover mixed.
I feel like when you do that, I should dim the lights.
The mood lighting, if you please.
You're going into a William S. Burroughs beat poetry.
God, no. I will paint the ceiling before I do beat poetry.
Okay.
I'll do a dramatic monologue under a spotlight, sure, but I ain't doing poetry to bongo sounds wearing a beret and a striped shirt.
Please tell us about your painting of a can of soup.
Do you mean to Andy Warhol there?
Yes. Come on, do your plugs, Dandy Warhol. That's a band.
Creator of pop art, I guess. Okay, that's me now. The Yoko Ono to Mark's John Lennon in this scenario.
The odds of me getting shot are high.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. UFC 330 was on Saturday. And unfortunately was let down kind of by the last two fights, despite in the main event Islam Makhachev making history by beating Ian Machado Gary. He made history because that is 17 consecutive wins in the octagon for Islam Makhachev, breaking Anderson Silva's record of 16.
Woo!
And nobody cared because the fight wasn't all that interesting for the last 3 rounds. So you can find my full report over there of all the happenings and the grapplings. See, this week we have on SmackDown Kevin Owens versus CM Punk for CM Punk's WWE title. Shenanigans will happen, I am sure. Not sure what exactly, but there's no way that ends clean. That's just not a thing that's going to happen.
I would imagine they're going to carry that over to Money in the Bank, no?
The question is how involved Sami Zayn gets, because he's still whining about everything while smelling like day-old milk. And looking like he smells worse than that somehow. So
I know
we'll see.
Survivor Series is War Games, but I really feel like they should bring back the Elimination Chamber. Have like Punk, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens.
The Chamber just doesn't. We know when the Chamber happens. The Chamber happens between Mania, between the Rumble and Mania.
I understand that, but I really wish they'd stop doing that and just, make the gimmicks fit the feud, not the feud fit the gimmick.
That would be nice, but they've been doing it this way for like 15 years at this point. We've all given up hope.
Yes, and they do their shows now to have content clips, not to tell long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
Triple H saying the quiet part out loud was a moment, wasn't it?
There's a lot of that going on these days over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so SmackDown on Fridays. This coming Saturday, there is UFC Fight Night 285. They're in Sacramento, California. Pretty decent main event. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez and RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez is your main event. There's a full Why would you make that face?
Just fucking nicknames. Tony Operation Taco Gary Rodriguez versus, fucking, Sylvester One Night Only the Cat. Like, what are we doing here?
They're fighting nicknames, Mark. What do you want?
Whatever happened to the Iceman?
The UFC will not allow anyone else to have that name.
Okay, keep going.
What's wrong with Fluffy?
Sorry, Ronnie. I literally came back to plugs.
Anyway, so my full preview for that, as well as a review of UFC 330, is over on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. I talk about those two events. I talk about because they've revealed all of the card for UFC 333, and it is maybe the best numbered event they've put out all year thus far on paper. Fingers crossed it holds together. They announced UFC 332 with a bunch of they announced like some of the undercard fights in the venue for 332. It's going to be in Salt Lake, actually. So depending on the main event, I may apply for media credentials. But when they drop a double main event on us of Valentina Shevchenko defending against Natalia Silva and an interim light heavyweight title fight between Yuri Prochazka and Paulo Costa, I'm going to decide to watch that from the comfort of my own home. Thank you very much. I'm pissed enough that my tax dollars are going to bring that circus to town, but So you can find me talking about that stuff over on the 411 Wrestling and Entertainment YouTube channel. That goes live around very late Sunday / early Monday morning, depending on where you are in the civilized world, or uncivilized world as the case may be. I don't know where you live. And yeah, tune in for that. And as mentioned, next week we'll be back here because we are professionals.
God damn right. I actually did finally see the trailer for Mutiny. It looks fun.
You can tell it's from the guy who did Plane. It is the most Jason Statham movie to Jason Statham, and I'm okay with that.
Yes. Also, we're getting a beekeeper, too, because God hates me. All right. Well, God hates me is the phrase that pays here in the Rattle.
We've said that a lot. We should get paid more.
Really. Be well, be safe, and behave.